We are delighted to have this breakfast series with the ICC-LA Basin's president, Ciara Barnett. Ciara is a licensed civil engineer and certified access specialist working for Los Angeles County Public Works in Alhambra, California. Well, now she's moving, well, I guess that's your new location, correct, Ciara? She had obtained her bachelor's degree in civil engineering and her master's degree in structural engineering from Cal Poly Pomona, and has worked in multiple divisions for public works, including waterworks and sewer maintenance, as well as building and safety. Most recently, she was promoted to the principal engineer to lead the community services group. And Ciara has spent most of her 20-year career working as a building plan check engineer and an office manager for building and safety for LA County. To see Ciara in action, feel free to watch her in this video, and we'll post that later. And we're just really delighted that we have the 2021 president of the Los Angeles Basin chapter. And for anyone that's new to this breakfast series, even though we are having our coffee at home, and we look forward to all connecting soon in person, the AIA this year is organizing opportunities for us to meet with almost every single organization in the Southern California area that intersects with building and safety, intersects with architecture, engineering, and the construction industry. And so with that, I will introduce Ciara and welcome her to the presentation. Thank you, Ciara.
Good morning, everybody. Absolutely thrilled to be here. Thanks for inviting me and us. I see a couple of ICC-LA Basin chapter board members out there, Ara and Celine. So thanks for joining us as well. I've been enjoying these breakfasts and just excited to have the opportunity to come and represent for ICC-LA Basin chapter. So I'll start a little bit more. So actually, fun thing about my name, it's C-I-A-R-A, but I pronounce it Ciara. So it's always a fun topic of conversation. I grew up in Ireland, and there was actually 5 Ciaras in my class out of 15 girls. And I have a stepsister, Ciara, living in Burbank. So it's unusual, but it was fun for it to go from a common name to an uncommon name. So I do enjoy having a name. And then just to share, because it was St. Patrick's Day this week, happy belated St. Patrick's Day. So I don't have it the worst. I have one cousin whose name is Ian, and to spell that in Irish, it's A-O-I-D-H-G-H-E-A-N-N. So just to share, Irish people do like to send their folks out to the world and confuse a lot of people with the pronunciations of our names. So just sharing that, and again, happy St. Patrick's Day. So like you said, I work at Public Works. I've been in the building department for 18 years, and now I'm looking forward to moving to Community Services Group. But as ICC-LA Basin chapter, our building department organization, I'd like to focus more on the building department side of my history today. But backing up, I did start junior college as a sign language major. And then I was on a humans and the environment tour on a sewer treatment plant one day where we had a civil engineer be our tour guide. And I just really was inspired by that gentleman. I felt like I could be proud of myself if I had a job like he had. And I love math and science and didn't really know what civil engineers did. So I went ahead and made the switch to Cal Poly and got my bachelor's degree in civil engineering. I stayed on there to get my master's of science in structural engineering. And then having that structural focus helped me to get a position in building and safety with LA County. What's interesting then is my specialty turned out to be accessibility. So I was able to come full circle back to what, a kind of field that I wanted to be in to begin with. And I did get my certified access specialist about 5 years ago. So I was just curious, I'm not sure in the chat or anything, if anybody can let me know if there's any CASPs out there today, I'd be interested in that. And certainly if anybody is an aspiring CASP or somebody who doesn't even know what a CASP is. So I'm sure we might have a mix, but definitely for building departments, having certified access specialists, we've had Senate bills that basically dictate that, jurisdictions have to have a certain number of CASPs, certified access specialists on staff. So Division of State Architects were tasked with coming up with finding experienced, trained, and tested individuals. So basically you're tested at kind of a higher standard on just accessibility. And so I had a lot of fun taking that exam. I truly think, studying for the exam is where you learn, not actually taking the exam, but I'd love to share my experiences. I'm really passionate about accessibility because I feel like, it's just making sure that the built environment is usable and safe for all of us, right? So I always like to say it's, for us, not them, right? It's not, any one of us could become disabled at any time, right? Whether it's temporary, permanent. And so really, I love everything about accessibility and that it's equal access for everyone, right? It's not preferential treatment, it's equal treatment. And disabled access is a civil right. And then our codes related to disabled access come from laws. So again, if anybody has any questions about, taking the exam, where to start, I certainly love sharing my experience. I think the more the merrier. And then I am also a member of a group called CASI, Certified Access Specialist Institute. And that group is not just for CASPs, obviously it's a lot of CASPs, and then anybody interested in the accessibility field. So I know currently they're thinking about getting a working group going for people who are interested in taking the CASP exam, so who are not yet CASP, but interested in accessibility. So if anybody has any questions on that side, feel free to let me know, reach out to me. I have conducted trainings in Chapter 11B, accessibility and public accommodations would be my area of focus. And again, I just take pride in helping to ensure that the built environment is usable and safe for us all. So after plan checking for quite a number of years in a variety of different offices with different themes, I went on to become an office manager of a very busy office. I love working for the building department. I think it's really fast paced. You have a lot of variety, right? When I worked in waterworks, you might work on one pipeline design for months, and every morning you come in and it's the last thing you want to look at is that project again. But in the building department, it's so fast paced. Every job has a little bit of a different twist or a challenge. So it keeps us all interested. And I just really love the balance between technical and then customer service. I have a restaurant background and I could have worked in restaurants for life, except for it would be nights, weekends, and holidays. And then unless your whole family's doing the same thing, that would be a lonely life. So again, I love kind of that I switched to the building department and I feel like it's very similar. You're just serving permits on platters instead of food. But definitely, I'm proud of the work that we do to ensure that projects are designed and constructed safely. I always like to say people love their family, their pets, their friends, and then the most important thing to people generally is going to be their home or their business. So trying to help people achieve their permitting goals has just been a very gratifying career for me. And then, I just love making an impact on the communities that we serve. So I did get to go to my son's class. He's 12 this week on Monday, and we've gotten to go to some high schools. And I love to promote again, what is the building department, right? So when you ask a group of kids, what does the fire department do? They know, right? And you ask them, what does the police department do? They know. And then you ask them what the building department does, and they say, build buildings. So it's just kind of cute that, I do think that we're almost like silent heroes in the background. Really, what we do is maintain permit history, maintain records. We review plans for minimum code compliance, right? Always telling designers, there's an infinite amount of ways to design things. We're just looking to make sure that it's per minimum code, the worst building you can build. And then we obviously issue permits for grading, building, electrical, mechanical, plumbing, sewer. And then we perform site inspections to make sure that the construction matches the approved plans. So if we do our job right and we make sure that the buildings are designed to ensure that people can get out safely in an emergency, then again, we get to, impact making sure that fire department have less calls, right? And there's less issues. So I do think it's a very important job that we do. And then building departments have seen so many changes in recent years. It used to be very much an enforcement mentality. And I believe across the board, that's changed to like a collaborative mentality, working with owners, architects, designers, contractors. And so I've really enjoyed working in the building department. And recently we've seen so many changes with moves to online plan checking, virtual inspections. So I feel like we're, definitely a lot of change, fast pace and variety again. And then a fun thing about my job in the building department that not everybody would know is that I'm on call 24/7. And that's because people hit their homes and their cars, right? So oftentimes, it is the homeowner, but we do have car impacts to buildings. If there's a fire, if there's a windstorm and a tree hits a building, gas explosions I've seen. And so what'll happen is when there's an emergency, we'll get a call from dispatch to get an inspector out there to inspect that building and make sure it's safe for entry, right? So we're going to be the ones who have to clear the building to say if it's safe to enter, or we're going to limit access if it's unsafe. So that's just a fun job, part of my job that I don't think many people would think about. But yeah, I've really enjoyed working on the private property side of business. That's what we do in building and safety. But I also really believe in government and the work that we do. So it's kind of fun now. I'm transitioning out of the building department soon, hopefully. And I'll get to work on more with community services group. It'll be everything, right? For contract cities, unincorporated areas in LA County. And so I'm really looking forward to, because I really believe, as much as we value that home and business, if it wasn't for government and public works, you wouldn't have a road to drive on to get there. You might not have a toilet to flush. And so really, I do believe in government work and what we do. So my new job in community services group, if anybody's interested, I'll be helping to focus on quality of life issues for the communities of LA County, facilitating essential services for 88 contract cities and our unincorporated areas while prioritizing environmental protection, economic resiliency, and social equity. So I'm really excited about my new role. But now I'd like to just shift gears and talk about ICC-LA Basin Chapter, why we're here. So again, I'm currently the president for 2021. So we're called the International Co-Council Los Angeles Basin Chapter. And the International Co-Council is the largest international association of building and safety professionals. So the Co-Council is the trusted source for the model codes and standards that establish the baseline for building safety globally and create a level playing field for builders and manufacturers. So at ICC-LA Basin Chapter, we are a nonprofit building organization, building official organization. We represent over 89 local jurisdictions in LA County, including consulting firms and members of the construction industry. Our chapter and its members are active in leading the effort to have uniformity in building codes and regulations in the LA County area, as well as addressing policy issues of interest to building officials in the construction industry. So the tradition of our chapter has been to provide our members with high quality education, code application, and building department information. So for ICC-LA Basin Chapter, we host monthly meetings, monthly membership meetings. And they always have a training or a presentation component. So what we do is we'll have our business meeting, and then we'll have a presentation to follow. Generally, we meet on the second Thursday of every month. So if anybody's interested in ever looking us up, the second Thursday of every month, and we'd usually meet in Alhambra, in the LA County Public Works building. But obviously last year, just like most organizations, we've gone online. And really impressed. Ciara is our immediate past president, who really made that shift last year and got us straight online, and we didn't miss a beat. We didn't go dark any month. We kept going with our monthly meetings. So what we do get CEUs, continuing education credits, when we do those trainings, as or those monthly meetings as well as trainings. And we're currently working to see if we can't get our AIA to be establish ourselves to be able to provide AIA credits as well. So stay tuned for that. But we do like to vary our topics. We started this year with zero codes, in partnership with AIA. So we had a sustainability topic. We had outdoor dining last week, which was great. We had a fire prevention officer talking about, everything on outdoor dining, from the tents, the heaters, equipment, K-rails and protection, accessibility. And so we try and vary our topics between, structural accessibility, what's hot, what's new. We find ourselves going back to ADUs, cargo containers, kind of up and coming. So our next monthly meeting will be Contractor State Licensing Board, coming to talk about who can pull what permits. And then we're going to have our Building and Safety Month. I'll talk a little bit about Building and Safety Month in May. Where we have a joint meeting with a bunch of local chapters. And then we have accessibility code updates in June. So all of our information for our meetings and our schedules are on our website at icclabc.org. So if you have any interest, I'll talk a little bit more about the website coming up as well. But we have code enforcement topics. So I actually joined ICC-LA Basin Chapter by joining one of our committees that I'll talk about, our Disabled Access Committee. And then what I would do is just kind of, when I saw a topic of interest to me, I would join the meetings. And of course, that led into now obviously being involved in every meeting every month, and I enjoy it. So we do have a wide range of participants these days. I love to go around the room. I know, Will, you've joined us a couple of times recently, where we'll have so many cities represented. And so I love to list them off. And we have UCLA, and we have, we partner with ICC. Themselves, and California building officials, Building Standards Commission provide us updates, fire prevention officers. We often have Structural Engineers Association of California, and thankfully now we have AIA joining us as well. So we hope to continue to see you at our meetings, Bill, and some others. And so, yeah, we also provide trainings then throughout the year. And one of our major goals is to provide low-cost training for our members. So we vary training topics again between fire, life safety, structural inspection, energy, sustainability, accessibility, new technologies, and other hot topics that come up. This year, we've already had a 4 half-day trainings for accessibility. So you see a theme with me, and that was like a CAS prep or accessibility course. We've also done the safety assessment program, SAP. So we did 1 session of that already this year, and we had such high attendance that we plan to do another one in June. So we also have some other things in the works. We're planning some housing accessibility later on in the year with S.T.E.A.M, who used to work for HCD. And so he's going to have a couple of sessions of housing accessibility training. There is, we'll talk a little bit about code updates, but one of the things coming in the intervening cycle is mass timber. So we'll have American Wood Council come and talk about mass timber at a training. And then we're planning others as well. So like I said, hopefully we'll be able to get those AIA credits as well as the CUs we currently offer. And we can get more and more architects in the room as well. So as you likely know, we have code updates every 3 years. And then in between that, we have an intervening code cycle, we have errata, we have supplements that come out. So we try to arrange code update trainings frequently to update our members for what's new, what are the new code requirements. And that's for the residential code, the building code, electrical, mechanical, and plumbing. And most years, we haven't done it virtually, but most years we'll have an inspection matrix training. So again, a lot of variety with building, mechanical, plumbing, electrical for local jurisdiction inspectors and those working for consultant companies. And then every year, generally at the beginning of the year, we have our annual business meeting. And these are, grand events. We've had up to a couple hundred people the last couple of years. We had a City Club downtown LA. We did the Santa Anita racetrack. So we find these great locations. And our members come together to swear in, their new officers, present awards, and celebrate our successes throughout the year. So this year was our first virtual ABM. And so we, again, have successfully been able to switch into the virtual worlds. And then to promote uniform application of codes and regulations. So again, regionally, we were talking about it before the meeting, but, if every single jurisdiction was coming up with their own, code updates, that's very confusing for property owners, designers, architects. So we do try and have this regional effort to try and have, local amendments be uniform. And so to help with the uniform application of code regulations, facilitate discussions between our building departments and construction industry professionals, we have 6 active committees, and that's Administration and Code Coordination Committee. We have Disabled Access Committee, Fire Life Safety. We have an Inspection Committee, Structural Committee, and then Sustainability. So certainly anybody interested, we can make sure I get my a couple of emails in the chat there as well, maybe for our Secretary Treasurer, or just go to our website. Let us know you're interested. But we do have, each committee obviously end up with their own kind of format and theme. I hope Trung's on here today, and maybe we can have him talk a little bit about the code adoption cycle, because it sounds like that might be a little bit interesting to this group. Disabled Access meeting, they get together monthly, talk about relevant topics, and then I find we really are good about emailing ourselves in between, right? So when you can get this group of people who have that same specialty, right, it's just such a big help and a big resource where you have a question, instead of having to reinvent the wheel every time, you just shoot it out and you get some input and comment from your peers. So we really benefit from that. And then the inspection committee, something fun that they're doing is a photo contest right now. So, they try and have their meetings in the mornings before the inspectors head to the fields, but they are trying to get a photo contest going with the good, the bad, the ugly, right? So, so even, if you wanted to submit a picture sometime, I could certainly submit on somebody's behalf, or maybe you could join their meeting. And just see some of the, pictures again, that what are people seeing out there when they're looking at construction. And so again, some really great installations, and certainly we have more fun with the what not to do, right? So yeah, if you're interested in any of those committees, structural, sustainability, inspection, fire life safety, disabled access, administration, certainly let us know. Or again, there's more information on our website as well. And then our committees generally meet monthly as well. So we have our monthly membership meetings, we have our committee meetings. And they continue to develop and update various documents such as plan check correction lists. Anybody who's submitting to building departments, you often might have a correction sheet that was based on something generated by ICC-LA Basin Chapter. We also have some information bulletins and information to help local building officials and their staff to ensure compliance with current codes. So the committees further the goal of the chapter by providing a forum for members to discuss, review, and address issues that are of relevance to our profession. And again, meeting times for all our committees and everything can be found on the same website that I see you posted in the chat, Will. Thank you. And other things you can find more information on our website about is we do have job postings, right? So for our members, they can post, jobs of interest to our members and those in this field. So we do post job postings. We do have an annual scholarship where we give away 3 $500 and $1,000 scholarship to anybody in a 2 or 4 year program in the building construction industry. So if anybody knows any students out there, this is actually the time of year. We currently have until March 31st that people can apply for a scholarship. So certainly if you know any students in the construction field, please refer them to our website and see if they can contact us and, submit an application to be considered. And then we do have great information on our website right now about Building and Safety Month. So every year, May is Building and Safety Month. And so what we do with ICC-LA Basin Chapter is we get together with a bunch of regional chapters. So, if there's architects here from different areas, we meet with Orange Empire chapter, Orange County, Ventura. There's a new Coachella chapter, High Desert, Foothill chapter. So we do get great representation where we'll pull together, get reports from, again, a lot of the groups we partner with. And then we have many other building and safety events usually throughout the month. Obviously this, last year was a little bit different with the virtual format, and we'll see how this year goes, but we do still plan some great events. So if you're interested in that, that's a fun month for us. And then this year we have been focused on making improvements to our website and expanding our social media presence. That's been fun. So for our executive board, once we're on there, it's a 5-year term. So currently we have a secretary position for a year, then a treasurer, then vice president, then president, and immediate past president. And something fun is this year we've added a public relations officer, and she's out there today. I think Bethany, I saw you log in, and she's with City of Pasadena Fire Department, and we're thrilled to have her join our team. And then we were actually founded in 1957. So we had our 64th birthday on January 7th of this year. And a fun fact is in 64 years, well, I joined in when we were 61 years old, but at 61 years, I was only the second female ever to serve on our executive board. And the other one had been 20 years ago. So that was kind of fun for me. And now we've had 2 more females follow in my footsteps. And between Celine, myself, Cynthia, and then now Bethany joining, we outnumber the men on our board now 2 to 1. So that's been a lot of fun to see that change and that progression. So hang in there, Ara. So it's been my honor to serve on the executive board for LA Basin Chapter. I really believe in the efforts that we put out there, trying to be instrumental in supporting and educating building and safety staff, construction and design professionals throughout the LA Basin area. And I do like to think if we didn't exist, professionals would have to put a lot more effort into keeping up with the new changes, keeping up with the codes, again, having to research, things where, again, oftentimes we can work together, right? That networking and that social aspects, we can really help each other out. And we facilitate access to each other, initiating discussions. And then our dedicated members with our chapter provide valuable trainings, right? And not only for our chapter, but we do go around with other chapters and organizations in the region. So it's, through ICC-LA Basin Chapter that I got connected with California building officials, and I've been teaching at their Ed Weeks for accessibility and had a lot of fun with that. So to summarize the activities of our chapter, it's, educational seminars and training, keeping members updated on industry issues. We have an extensive network support and voice, shared expertise and ideas, professional networking, social gatherings of field professionals, periodic meetings on topics of common interest, information concerning employment needs, and information on construction methods. So finally for this year, I think I'm fine on time so far, right, Will? But for this year, our goals during my presidency term are to continue to provide options for high quality, low cost trainings, webinars, and monthly meetings. And again, hoping to have AIA credits as well as continuing education credits for our attendees. Expand communications and relationships between members, stakeholders, other chapters, and related groups, including ICC, other local chapters, California building officials, Structural Engineers Association of California, fire prevention officers, AIA, building industry, BIA, Building Industry Association, Contractor State Licensing Board, Building Standards Commission. And then our third goal is to support the efforts of our great committees and have them engage with our membership. So that would be my introduction, Will.
Well, excellent. Thank you so much. I'm grateful for your time, and you've been a part of this series since we've started talking virtually, and I look forward to when we can all be in person together. We have several people in the chat room that I would love to involve in this conversation. First of all, I want to recognize that we have Dave Ittner from Southern California Edison, and also Ralph D. Nola, who is with the New Building Institute. If either one of them are willing to come off, to put themselves on camera, I would love to involve them in the discussion. And we also have Darnell Parker and Lalita Nakatani, who've been active in these discussions as well. So, one of the questions that, several people had with regards to, a regional approach to the building code is some of the concerns right now with the city of LA looking to expand Fire District 1, and also what the impact would be for affordable housing. And I know that some people on this call might have more intelligence into that process. So I welcome that discussion. But Ralph, would you take a minute to come off mute and share a little bit of your input as well?
You are muted.
All right. Yeah, Will, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, welcome, Ralph. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, so Ralph Tonella, CEO at New Buildings Institute. We're actually a California nonprofit, but we're based in Portland, Oregon. And so we've been operating since 1997, focused on advancing zero energy and carbon neutral buildings. We develop design guidance, tools and resources, and we also work on advancing codes and policy. And we were involved in the 2021 IECC in the advancement of the code. And we also have been working on stretch codes and reach codes, including helping the city of San Jose get their electrification code in place. And so anyway, just happy to be a part of the conversation, and nice meeting you as well, Ciara. I'm going to pronounce your name wrong. I'm sorry.
That was perfect.
Thanks. So Ralph, we have Trong on the call, who's with ICC LA Basin. Trong, do you want to share a little bit about the code adoption process and some of the concern that was in the press recently from AIA and other people that were looking to decarbonize the built environment?
Good morning, everyone. Hi, yeah, my name is Trong Nguyen. I work the Basin chapter, and I chair the administration and code coordination committee. I'll speak a little bit about the code change process and what's going on right now. I probably don't have too much knowledge, at least on the energy aspect of it. But yeah, generally, the code cycle is a 3-year process. ICC is the lead organization that organizes these hearings and for different members, both on the governmental side as well as on the industry and practice side. So I think Karin mentioned that this is typically a 3-year cycle, and this is the first year of that cycle. So they have essentially what they call a Group A and a Group B hearing. Group A is all of 2021 and Group B is 2022. So we're currently in the Group A, and ICC has posted unfortunately hundreds of different proposals that are submitted by anyone. A lot of code officials, a lot of industry representative, architects or engineers, etc. I don't know the number off the top of my head. I want to say it's somewhere in the 1,000 or so range. So that's a lot of proposals. But this year is a Group A, and it's mostly focused on non-structural stuff, focused on a lot of fire life safety tech requirements, and not to route all the codes, but probably the 3 big ones that most people are more aware of is obviously the International Building Code international existing building code and international fire code. So that's that, and a couple of other stuff is mostly in the Group A. And then next year, which is the Group B, that's where they focus mostly on structural stuff, a lot of administrative stuff that are common throughout all the codes. And I would say the bigger focus then is also on the IRC, the International Residential Code. So all these codes, when it goes through its process and it's fitted out and it's voted on, you know, they become obviously the basis for the code that California uses in the future. And then that's probably true with lots of other states or other government. So that's sort of the high level, but in terms of the detail for those that are interested, what happens is people submit code change proposal. They're gathered, they're posted as of March. So you go to the ICC website, all that proposals there. And then it enters its first phase, which is called the committee action hearing. So depending on what the proposals are, it goes before different committees who then hear testimony, you know, the pros and the cons for a particular code change proposal. There's debates, you know, sometimes the debate's very short, sometimes the debate's like an hour. So it depends on what the topic is. At the conclusion of that debate, you know, the committees who are selected to do the first voting, they're the ones who kind of say, gives the thumbs up or thumbs down on a particular code change proposal. And these committees are comprised of, it's about 13, it varies between 11 to 13 people, I would say. And, you know, at least a third of them are governmental members, at least a third are private practice, and the other third being industry members. So, you know, usually you'll have organizations that will represent a particular group that are selected to serve on these committees. So anyways, the committee votes on it, and then the results of that vote gets published, and then during the summer, and then sometime around August, or yeah, maybe July, August, I don't have all the dates in front of me, they open up for public comment. So if anyone anyone, you know, throughout governmental, industry, private practice, have any concerns or comments regarding a position that was taken by the committee, they can submit a comment. And what that in effect does is reopens it for further debate during the public comment hearing, which takes place in the latter part of September. And so then it gets kind of redebated, and again, people hear the pros and the cons, or they hear additional information, or they might hear, well, let's tweak this language and see if everyone's happy with the tweaks. And then at the conclusion of all that, it is the governmental members that then vote. And at the conclusion of all that, then that's what your first sets of approved changes occur. And then next year it goes through that same cycle. So anyways, that's the sort of the high level gist. You know, I posted on to the chat there the location for anyone that's interested to go to, and that kind of will give you a lot of information that you might be looking for. So outside of that, like I said, I don't have too much knowledge on the energy part. I think that's, yeah, I'm probably not going to speculate because I'm not too familiar with all the goings on with the energy code that's currently at the ICC level. So thank you.
Well, yeah, well, thank you so much. That was a very comprehensive update. And, you know, what we do, we welcome the further connection. And I will, you know, I'm not an architect, but I work for AIA, and I'll do what I can to get more architects involved with the code adoption process. Ciara, your predecessor, Ara, is on the phone. Should we ask him to join the conversation?
There are, especially with Santa Monica, right? See if there's any energy input. I know he has an excellent City of Santa Monica representative on our sustainability committee, so it's a pity she's not here, Ariana. But yeah, go for it, Ara.
Good morning. With energy, thanks, Trunk. By the way, it was a very, I was also involved in the code hearings and the code adoption process, but Trunk is the best to explain everyone how it works. And also he created our code adoption coordination group that started with the LA Basin chapter and now is grown and they are joining us from Northern California, from Nevada, from other states. So it's a huge group. And for architects, if you want to have any comment on the code changes, that will be the best place to get into the, connect with Trunk's admin committee and bring your questions there, so they will work with you. With energy changes, so Santa Monica building department works with the building code requirements and of course energy code requirements, but Santa Monica being a pioneer in energy, rich energy codes and changing so many things towards to the eco-friendly environment and the construction, has created new energy rich code, and we are getting more and more restrictive. I know on one side for developers it's a little bit harsh, but looking at the future of the planet, probably it's a good thing to do. And we have separate sustainability group created that is working on energy rich code changes and adoption. We have our EV chargers code that is about like 3-4 times more restrictive than California code. If California asks for 10% or 20% EV chargers, then we are pushing up to 50%. I know it's a little bit tough for the real estate to manage to have this many large spaces, because EV charging spaces need to have cannot be compact. So we did manage to work the way that there is a Santa Monica type of EV charging stations that are not so-called EV charging stations, but they are charger-friendly parking spaces. So to make sure that designers are not struggling to comply with these requirements, also we have as many as possible EV charging stations. Also, as appliances to be electrical appliances, and to get rid of the gas appliances. That's also a big deal in Santa Monica now. Of course, the code allows building official to come up with some alternative means and methods approval. So if your project is in Santa Monica and you cannot comply with the energy code, Santa Monica energy code, and you have some alternative methods to present, always the code allows us to look at these alternative means and methods, and with a good justification, we can find some equivalency you propose and work on it. That's it for Santa Monica.
Well, thank you so much. Ciara, this is, back to you with your role with the county public works. I'm not sure if everyone realizes that, your 88 contract cities public works for LA County actually becomes the building and safety department. For instance, West Hollywood, correct?
Only for some, actually, and we have City of West Hollywood on, so they're not one of them. So basically, all 88 contract cities contract to public works for some things, right? And it could be bridge inspections, safe, clean water, traffic signals and lights, and building and safety services is one of it. So we do have some contract cities that utilize building and safety services for plan checker and or inspection, but not City of West Hollywood, but definitely like La Cañada, Flint Ridge, City of Industry. So there are some cities that contract with us for those services. But yeah, lots of services we provide.
And just out of curiosity, LA has the LARR number, the research report number, which creates a lot of challenges with innovative products. How do most other jurisdictions deal with, with the equivalent of the LARR process? So
for LA County, we'd be City of LA are much larger than us, but we're large as well. So we do have a research section. And so then we do have some bulletins, right? Whether it's, around a pool, the temporary fencing. So we have many different research products that get submitted too, right? So the idea of the code is it's never going to limit you and say you can't do something, right? There's always that option to be able to justify that something meets or exceeds code requirements. So we have a research section, but it would be fun if maybe we could kick it to, Cynthia with City of West Hollywood, or, one of the other kind of smaller cities, and see how they handle it. Would you be willing to talk about that one, Cynthia? Good morning.
Hi, sure.
Hi.
I have a the light in my eye.
It's beautiful.
But yeah, so we will accept usually LA City's research reports. It's kind of on a, we'll take a look and see what's there. We're smaller too, so we don't have the resources to do our own research reports. So we do take a look at those, and we will pretty much most of the time accept those, and the one from the regional as well.
Got it. And if there's any other cities I'd like to say, but yeah, at the county, so we'll have modification requests too, right? Whether it's accessibility, hey, this is, it's over the threshold, but we have to do this much work, it's going to cancel the project. Are there any, site constraints or, technical constraints? So yeah, so it's helpful to have a research section, certainly. I don't know, Celine, are you out there for City of Glendale? I think we might have lost Celine. Fair enough. If there's anybody else, Trung or Santa Monica, all right, yeah.
Yeah, with research report numbers, Trung is on, so I'll let Trung talk. And
Oh boy, I didn't want to steal your thunder there, Ara.
go ahead, Trung.
No, I was yeah, I'll be quick about this. Yeah, so I imagine similar to most jurisdictions, if there's a new product or there's something that's out there that's not recognized by the code just yet, Long Beach, probably like Wild City, would defer to LA City only in the sense that, hey, if LA have already approved it, and we would look at the research report, it would just speed up our process to approve something. But if LAC doesn't approve something, we still have our internal process where, okay, show us what the product is, show us to what standard it might have been designed to or constructed to. Is it UL listed, or is it listed by some kind of recognized agency? Let's say it's New York, or maybe it's out in Florida, Dade County, they have a large group there as well. So, okay, maybe it's approved down in Florida. We might take a look to see what those conditions are, and if those conditions matches our city, then we would certainly entertain using it as well. But yeah, we're not big enough to have our own research section. So we want to obviously leverage other jurisdictions that might, whether it be LA County or LA City or any other large municipality that have that resource. But yeah, it just shortens our review time to evaluate new products. But we've gone it alone when we have to, even if they haven't gotten an LA approval or they haven't gotten certain jurisdictions approval. It just kind of depends on what that is. And I think I'll probably say this, which is common to most everyone. We're always mindful that if it's a new and innovative product, we're always mindful that, if we're the first one out of the gate, we're going to have LAC call us or Santa Monica call us or vice versa. If someone's first out of the gate, the other city ends up being the one calling us, like, well, did you consider this? What did you do that? How do you consider that? And so we're always mindful we're setting something. And so, so if you're the first one out of the bat, we might take a little bit more rigorous evaluation of it. Not to say we don't take that with everything, but if it's not life safety related, we're not going to be overly judicious about it, versus if it is life safety related or if it's structural related, you kind of take, a little bit more time evaluating what that is. So that's in a nutshell, generally how we kind of approach things.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I would love to put Ralph back on the call here, especially with regards to best practices nationwide. And as we have this urgency for climate action, we're trying to make sure that that innovative materials, innovative products, innovative techniques can find their way into some of the process for high energy performance. Ralph, do you want to speak to that a little bit and share more of your wider perspective on this issue?
Oh,
You're muted, Ralph.
Yeah, I put a couple of items in the chat because I think what just transpired over the past couple of weeks. I think Trung talked about the code development process that exists with the ICC, but there was a pretty dramatic change that the ICC board made to the IECC, and that's the code for kind of every state except for California. However, would agree that the IECC has implications for Title 24 in the development of the the code in California. So the big change was that the IECC was changed from a code to a standard, and basically the governmental voting process was removed, basically favoring a committee-based decision-making approach. So to my understanding, it's the same process with a committee that will select measures for the code, the next code cycle, but the governmental voting has been eliminated from the process. And that's a challenge because many of the advancements of the 2021 IECC were the result of votes basically overturning committee decisions, or basically giving those measures favor. So in response, not only were we supporting the technical development of measures for the IECC, but we also worked on a residential zero energy appendix, and then Architecture 2030, they proposed a zero code appendix for commercial. So those are actually available for jurisdictions adopting the 2021 IECC. And then most recently, we have released what we're calling a decarbonization code for the 2021 IECC. So it's an overlay to the 2021 IECC that has decarbonization measures as well, because there is this big move, especially in California, towards building decarbonization and electrification. So jurisdictions now, again, cities and states can adopt the 2021 IECC with the decarbonization measures included, and that's one thing we're really advocating for. But out of the concern, and we've heard a lot of cities and states are very concerned about the change or the disenfranchisement of their vote in these code developments. We will continue to pursue stretch codes and reach codes that will accelerate the advancement towards carbon neutral buildings, and continue to propose measures. And I'd like to ask Ciara just about the committee selection process, and is the chapter going to be instrumental in trying to nominate committee members? You shared, a third of those committee members are governmental representatives, but then there's the other 2/3, and how that committee is composed will have everything to do with how far the code advances. So I'm just curious if you can comment on that, and perhaps the role your chapter and other chapters play in helping to select committee members or suggest and nominate committee members.
So I haven't been involved in that process at all. Trung, would you be able to speak to that at all?
Yes, not a problem. Yeah, Ralph, so in terms of committee selection process, and I'm assuming you're talking about the committee on these code hearings, right? So, anyone can kind of apply. Obviously it helps to have an organization behind you. And again, only 1/3 of these various committee members are coming from the governmental side. They're coming from all across the U.S. So while I think we are a strong advocate for local representation from our area, obviously ICC being the parent organization, they're the one that actually vets who gets selected and nominated, and again, meeting those 1/3 criteria. Locally here, I can at least say we have a few members, not necessarily just from our chapter, but from other local chapters that are represented on those committees. We have one LA City representative. I believe he's on the Fire Life Safety Committee. We've got one down in San Diego that is as well, and a representative from the Orange County chapter is on there. That's 30. I think there's a total of 4 overall from California on the building side. I want to say there's at least 2 other fire officials on there. So there's about 6 or so that I'm aware of from our region. I want to say out in Nevada, our now partnering group, there's at least 1 or 2 there that are on the committee. It kind of escapes me which committee they're on. So we try to kind of get people from our area, or at least people that we work closely with. But ultimately, it's not really our decision. It's ICC, and obviously, from a national perspective, they're going to look for broad representation. And as much as we want more from our side of the fence, they're going to choose people from Florida and from New York, from Washington, and different areas, depending on how active those areas are. So, yeah, so that's probably all I have to add on that one.
Thanks for sharing that, Trung. Yeah, I haven't been involved in the code adoption side because, again, our research kind of handle that, and I'm out in the field office. But I did get to participate. So, Division of State Architect, right, the Chapter 11B, right, for accessibility. So I know they have task forces too, right, when they have proposed code changes. So like we recently added adult changing facilities. So they create a task force and they get people again from private industry, from building departments, from contractors, advocates, and it's such an interest. It's so interesting when you get that the mix together, because really, for me, when I work in a building department, we're neutral. Like it's to me, with accessibility, with anything, it's just enforcing minimum codes, right? I don't have an agenda either way. Certainly, we understand that the codes cost money, right? Cost time and money. And then again, you have advocates. There was a lady who had two, disabled teenagers, right, that she wants to take out and be able to, participate and enjoy life. I do find that the thought of that balance very interesting, but I haven't participated myself. So thanks for sharing that, Trung. And then I don't know if Dave Intner again, did he get to come online and say hi? I was so excited to connect. Dave is on our sustainability committee, and Southern California Edison have been very active with ICC-LA Basin chapter. And then Dave happens to be an architect too, right? Dave, so it was really nice to make this connection. So thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, no, thanks for the shout out. I appreciate it. Really great to be here, both from the standpoint of, kind of sit on the sustainability committee with ICC, as well as being an architect and the work we do with AIA. My direct role, I'm in our codes and standards group. So a lot of overlap and support that we provide in terms of education, outreach, and compliance improvement. We're looking ahead to the 2022 changes for the energy code and how we can develop the resources that the industry needs in order to best prepare them, and also to kind of help them through the process and the new, form changes and requirements and everything as painlessly as possible.
Yeah, thanks for joining, Dave. We're really excited with your role with Southern California Edison, and you and S.T.E.A.M and Santa Monica, I think, really are sharing best practices that we look to sort of integrate more in the city of LA. Ciara, I have a question with regards to I think what I'm hearing or reading between the dots here is we need more architects to become involved with ICC, and I never really thought about it, but you must have architects that are members of ICC LA Basin. Is that correct?
Definitely, yeah.
And so what we should do as the AIA Los Angeles is say, hey, if you're passionate about environmental performance, and if you want to find a way to make sure environmental performance is integrated more deeply into our building codes, then we need to encourage our Committee on the Environment, for instance, to all get involved with the ICC chapter at the LA level, so that then therefore they can get more involved with the way codes are shaped at the national level. And so I think that's my takeaway. But what would be the best way to get more architects involved with ICC?
I think it is showing up to the code hearings. So S.T.E.A.M that we were saying worked for HED for years. We often grumble, right? So 11B, I was telling you before the meeting, I stay away from housing accessibility like it's the plague, right? Because it's just so complicated, so cumbersome, so different. And then there's so many complications. And so the thing is, S.T.E.A.M worked for HED for years and tried to work on code updates, right? Tried to improve it. But the thing is, they wouldn't get enough support from industry and not enough people, and even from local jurisdictions to show up. So the thing is, you can't really affect change unless you're getting that participation. And so, yeah, I think, there's always calls for people to get more involved, and participate, So, I know we're all busy, and that's where I find myself a lot of time going, hey, whatever it falls out, I'll enforce it. And,
well, maybe this year we could do a, this is just me thinking out loud, but sort of a cross membership pollination opportunity where we inspire more AIA members to become ICC members and vice versa, because we have membership available for allied professionals, everyone that's sort of tangentially involved in the architecture and design professions. So I'll follow up with you on that and see if that's something that is of interest. And we have our membership director on the call as well. His name is Steve Tanner. And so Steve, I don't know if you have a moment to share a little insight. Do you know how often we have AIA members that are also ICC members?
I don't actually have numbers on that, Will, but I could find it out for another occasion. We certainly do share members with ICC and other collateral groups. So I'll echo Will's sentiment that we really should think about in our communications to members, let them know what is possible and that there may be commonalities that they want to address by being involved with both groups.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you, Steve, for joining us this morning. Ciara, I know you're busy and you've got your job with LA County, and I don't want to take too much time away, but I just give you a moment for some closing thoughts and some next steps. And I look forward to joining you. But yeah, any closing thoughts?
Yeah, so just really hope to work together more, right, and partner together. And I really think it would be interesting actually to see a show of hands of how many people on our building side that worked at City of LA before, right, and now work for other jurisdictions. So the thing is, we do have that overlap, right, whether it's jurisdictionally, and then of course you just get different feedback, right, or like a fresh perspective. So that's where I would really love to see more and more, from the industry side and designers participate, because again, so one thing for me is like we do so much for the built environment, right? And there's all these code requirements. And one of the things I enjoy doing is explaining to people why, right? If I ever know, well, this is why we have this code requirement. And I really think if people can understand, the life safety impacts, so again, a lot of, what we're doing is what's new in the codes. I think that's important for designers, the same as building industry, professionals. And again, we'd love to see the architects and designers showing up, and again, staying fresh, staying current, and just having that better partnership, because I really believe that it is a collaboration these days, right? Every project that we work on, it's working together. And again, ultimately, we're just trying to get the safest building. We don't make sure that the building's not going to fall down in the event of an emergency, but we make sure it's going to last long enough for people to get out. And so again, I really think, I'd love to see us just kind of have that shared like understanding and dialogue. And I think this is a great way to do it. Participating in each other's events, hearing each other. And so I look forward to continuing to participate. So one thing I'd like to ask you, Will, is how do I just go on AIA Los Angeles events? Is that the best way to find the upcoming?
Oh, well, so I'll send you the link to our newsletter, and our newsletter goes out every Tuesday. And then once you start receiving that information, we have plenty of things. We're really fortunate that we were able to shift to virtual so quickly. And there's a blessing in that, but there's, soon we'll be back to, hybrid of in-person events. I'm hoping by, late summer, we'll be able to see each other safely again. But yeah, I'll send you the direct link for our newsletter, and I encourage everyone else to join us next for the breakfast that we have on April 9th with the leadership of the Women's Council, Women's Business Enterprise Council West chapter, and that will be a Friday morning. You're all welcome to RSVP to that.